My dog was out of control. My parents gave me an ultimatum. Okay, buckle up, because this is going to sound ridiculous, but I swear it's true. My dog is absolutely out of control, my parents are losing their minds, and I feel like I'm stuck in some kind of reality show where every episode ends with me crying in my car. For context, I'm 23, recently graduated from college, and living back at my parents' house while I figure out my next steps. When I was still in school, I rescued a dog, a 3-year-old mutt named Rocket. He's part husky, part who knows what, with the energy level of a toddler chugging 3 cans of Red Bull. His gorgeous, thick grey and white coat, piercing blue eyes, the kind of dog that makes strangers stop and say, wow, he looks like a wolf. But he's also unhinged. Rocket wasn't like this at first. When I adopted him, he was shy, skinny, and slept 20 hours a day. The shelter said he'd been abandoned in the woods. I thought I was saving him. I thought we were going to heal together. You know, like the cheesy Instagram posts with who rescued who captions. Yeah, well. Fast forward a year, and I think the answer is, nobody got rescued. My parents are done. They didn't sign up for this. Last week, Rocket managed to open the pantry and rip into an entire bag of flour. My mom walked in to find him standing in the middle of a white, powdery explosion, wagging his tail like it was the best day of his life. He looked like a wolf ghost. I thought it was hilarious, Mom did not. He's ruining this house, she screamed, flour still settling in her hair. My dad was less dramatic but way scarier. He doesn't yell often, but when he does, it's like the whole room freezes. He just pointed at Rocket and then at me. This is your problem. Fix it. I wanted to argue, but honestly, he was right. Rocket is my responsibility. But every time I try to fix things, Rocket finds a new way to cause chaos. A few nights later, my parents sat me down at the kitchen table. You know when someone asks, "Can we talk?" in that serious parent tone, and you suddenly feel like you're 12 again? Yeah, that. My mom folded her hands like she was at a business meeting. We can't live like this. He chews the furniture, he barks all night, he dug up the garden. Don't forget the mailman, my dad muttered, sipping his coffee. Right. The mailman incident. Rocket had bolted out the door and chased him halfway down the block. No one was hurt, but the guy now skips our house entirely. My parents are mortified. Mom leaned in, eye sharp. We think you should rehome him. That word, rehoming, hit me like a gut punch. I felt my chest tighten. No. Absolutely not. He's my dog. I promised him I'd never give up on him. Dad rubbed his forehead. He's destroying our peace. This house isn't a zoo. You need to make a choice. And that's when it hit me, they were serious. They wanted me to pick between living at home and keeping Rocket. So what did I do? I panicked. I called my best friend, Ellie. Ellie is the kind of person who always looks like she just stepped out of a Pinterest board, freckles, strawberry blonde hair, and this way of making even chaos feel cozy. We've been inseparable since middle school. When I explained everything, she laughed so hard she nearly choked on her iced coffee. Your dog is literally feral. You need, like, the dog whisperer times 10. Thanks, that's helpful, I groaned. No, but seriously, she said, there's a trainer in town. My cousin used her for his pit bull. Worked miracles. Want me to text you her info? I jumped on it. This was my chance to prove to my parents I was taking responsibility. Fast forward again. I'm standing in a gravel parking lot outside an old warehouse that's been converted into a dog training center. Rocket is practically yanking my arm out of its socket while barking at every single living creature in sight. Enter the trainer. Her name is Carla. She's in her 40s, wiry, with short black hair and the kind of stare that makes you instantly straighten your posture. She greeted me with a firm handshake and immediately crouched down to look Rocket in the eye. Well, she said with a small smirk, this one's going to be fun. The first session was chaos. Rocket lunged at another dog, tried to climb onto the table, and howled when Carla told him to sit. But by the end, he was lying down quietly for the first time in maybe ever. It was like watching an exorcism. I drove home that night buzzing with hope. Maybe this was the turning point. Maybe Rocket wasn't doomed. But of course, it didn't last. 2 weeks later, while I was at work, Rocket broke out of his crate. When I came home, I found shredded couch cushions, ripped curtains, and paw prints across the counter where he'd apparently danced around in search of snacks. My mom stood in the middle of the destruction, arms crossed, shaking with fury. "I told you," she said, her voice trembling. "I can't take this anymore." Dad came in behind her, holding a garbage bag. "Either he goes, or you do." That night, I lay in bed with Rocket curled against me, his head heavy on my chest. I stroked his fur and whispered, "I don't know what to do, buddy." His eyes glowed in the dark, calm and trusting, like he knew I'd never give up. And I realized, maybe I'd underestimated what keeping that promise was going to cost me. The next morning, I woke up with that sick pit in your stomach feeling, the kind that makes you want to crawl back under the covers and never face reality. My parents were dead serious about the ultimatum. Either Rocket went, or I did. And honestly? For a few minutes, I considered leaving. Packing up, crashing on Ellie's couch, figuring it out later. But then I thought about the look in my mom's eyes last night, not just anger, but exhaustion. She deserved peace in her own home. And so did my dad. That's when I remembered Carla, the trainer. If one-on-one sessions could calm Rocket even for a moment, maybe a full training program could actually change things. It wasn't cheap, way more money than I had. But I had no choice. At breakfast, I sat down at the kitchen table with my parents. Rocket was pacing behind me, tail wagging, completely unaware of the trial I was on. "Look," I started, forcing my voice to stay steady, "I found a training school. A boarding program. They keep the dogs for 4 weeks and work with them intensively. It's expensive, but I'll cover it. I'll pick up extra shifts, whatever it takes. Please, just give me one last chance." My dad looked skeptical, but I could tell he wanted to believe me. My mom sighed and tapped her spoon against her coffee mug. "For weeks," she said finally. "That's all. If this doesn't work..." "I know," I said. "If this doesn't work, I'll figure something else out." Fast forward 2 days. I was standing in front of the training school, a huge ranch-style property on the outskirts of town. Fenced fields stretched out for acres, filled with dogs of every shape and size, barking and running under the sun. Carla met me at the gate. "You ready for this?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Not even a little," I admitted. She laughed, then crouched to clip a lead on Rocket. "Don't worry. We'll knock some manners into him." Rocket whined as I handed over his leash. I bent down, kissed the top of his head, and whispered, "Be good, okay? I'll be back for you." Watching him trot off with Carla felt like leaving my kid at summer camp for the first time. My chest ached the whole drive home. Carla sent me videos of Rocket every few days. The first ones were rough. He barked non-stop, pulled against the leash, refused to sit. I could see the frustration in her face. But by the end of week 1, there was a shift. Rocket sat calmly beside her during a group session. He walked at her pace without yanking the leash. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. My parents watched the videos with me, cautiously hopeful. "If this actually works," my mom muttered, "I'll bake that woman a cake." By week 2, I was allowed to visit. When Rocket saw me, he lost his mind, tail wagging so hard his whole body wiggled. But then something incredible happened. When Carla told him to sit, he sat today. Instantly. I swear, I almost cried. Carla crossed her arms, smiling like she'd just pulled off a magic trick. "He's stubborn, but he's smart. He just needs consistency. The real challenge is going to be you." "Me?" I asked, confused. She nodded. "If you don't stay disciplined, he'll fall back into bad habits. You've got to be the leader he needs." Can you handle that? I wanted to say yes confidently, but the truth is, I wasn't sure. I'd been winging adulthood in general, now I had to be the stable force in Rocket's life. Still, I forced myself to nod. I'll try. For weeks later, it was time. Carla handed me Rocket's leash with a proud grin. He's not perfect. No dog is. But he's come a long way. Now it's your turn to step up. The ride home felt like a new beginning. Rocket sat calmly in the back seat, looking out the window, instead of trying to crawl into my lap like usual. When we pulled into the driveway, my parents came outside cautiously, like they were bracing for a tornado. Rocket walked up to them, sat down politely, and wagged his tail. My mom blinked. Did he just sit? I grinned, fighting tears. He did. Of course, the real world is messy. Rocket still had moments, like when he spotted a squirrel and nearly pulled me into a bush, or when he barked at the neighbor's lawnmower like it was a monster. But instead of chaos, there was control. Instead of destruction, there was progress. One evening, my dad came into the living room while Rocket lay curled at my feet. He cleared his throat and said, "I'll admit. I was wrong. He's a good dog. You did good." That meant more to me than I can put into words. But here's the part that really got me. A couple weeks later, my mom was in the backyard gardening. Rocket was lying nearby, calm and watchful. Suddenly, she slipped on a patch of wet grass and fell hard. Before I could even get to her, Rocket was at her side, nudging her, barking until I came running. She wasn't seriously hurt, thank God, but the way Rocket stayed glued to her, whining softly, was something I'll never forget. Later that night, she sat on the couch with him and whispered, okay, maybe you are family after all." And that's when it hit me, all the flower explosions, the shredded furniture, the sleepless nights, they were leading here. To this moment, Rocket wasn't just my wild, chaotic rescue. He was ours. Now, a few months later, things are peaceful. Not perfect, but peaceful. Rocket still has too much energy, but he listens. He respects boundaries. My parents actually smile when they see him now. My dad even sneaks him bits of bacon at breakfast. Sometimes I think back to that night when I whispered, "I don't know what to do, buddy." And I realize, I didn't give up. I kept my promise. And in return, Rocket kept his. He became the dog I always believed he could be.